The cameras were off. Angelina Jolie was on a humanitarian mission, deep in one of the world's most challenging regions. Under the scorching heat of the Middle Eastern sun, she was traveling in a convoy heading toward a refugee camp. The only sound breaking the silence was the steady hum of engines. Yet, Angelina's feelings were far from calm. Today was not going to be an ordinary day. She could feel it. When they arrived at the camp, Angelina paused as the sight of weary, hungry people unfolded before her. Children played silently in the sand, while the elderly sought shade to escape the relentless heat. Her gaze settled on those struggling to survive. Just then, the camp leader approached her. "Angelina, someone needs to see you. It's urgent," they said, their voice tinged with concern. Angelina followed their gaze toward a small tent. An elderly man sat on the ground, grief etched into his face. His eyes, however, carried a faint glimmer of hope. As Angelina approached, the man extended his trembling hands toward her. "My grandson is missing," he said, his voice cracked with sorrow. "We lost his parents during the border conflict. I've been searching for days, but there's no sign of him. Please, I'm begging you, help me." Angelina's eyes filled with tears. The man's despair was too real to ignore. Kneeling beside him, she gently held his hands. "What's his name?" she asked softly. "Ali," the man replied, his voice quivering. "He's only 8 years old. He must be so scared." Angelina quickly organized a search team. Local guides, camp workers, and volunteers formed a small group to venture into the vast desert. But the mission proved far more difficult than they had imagined. The desert was merciless. By day, the searing heat was unbearable, while the nights brought freezing cold. Sandstorms would arise without warning, reducing visibility to almost nothing. During one storm, Angelina shielded her face from the swirling sand, her determination unwavering. "Ali is out there somewhere," she whispered to herself. For an entire day, there was no trace of him. But the next morning, one of the guides discovered a child's shoe at the base of a sand dune. As Angelina held the small shoe in her hands, she felt a surge of hope. Ali was still out there, somewhere close. On the third day, at the break of dawn, the desert air was cool but hauntingly still. A guide suddenly stopped and pointed toward the horizon. "There!" he exclaimed. Angelina immediately raised her binoculars and focused on the direction he indicated. Her heart sank. There, slumped in the sand, was a small figure. The child's clothes were caked in dust, his face sunburnt, and his body trembling with exhaustion. Ali had clearly been without food or water for days. Angelina approached him slowly, her steps measured and deliberate. As she got closer, Ali's frailty became even more apparent. His breaths were shallow, and his face drooped with fatigue. Kneeling a few feet away, Angelina spoke in a calm yet firm voice. "Hi, Ali," she said gently. "I'm Angelina. I've come to find you." Ali lifted his head weakly, struggling to keep his eyes open. His lips were cracked, his skin parched. In a barely audible whisper, he said, "Grandfather." Angelina quickly opened her bag, pulling out a bottle of water. "Ali, you need to drink this," she said, carefully tilting the bottle to his lips. Ali took a few small sips, each one easing the tension in his fragile body. She then unwrapped an energy bar, breaking it into small pieces and feeding it to him. "Take it slow, okay? You're safe now," she said soothingly. As Ali regained a bit of strength, he managed to sit up slightly. He was still frightened, but Angelina extended her hands toward him. "Come on, let's get you back to your grandfather. He's been waiting for you." Ali hesitated for a moment. Then his eyes welled up as he reached for her hands. His small, frail body leaned into her arms, and for the first time, a faint sense of relief crossed his face. When Angelina brought Ali back to the camp, his grandfather spotted him immediately and collapsed to his knees. "Ali!" he cried, his voice breaking. Ali ran into his grandfather's arms. "Grandpa!" he shouted, tears streaming down his face. The two embraced tightly, their reunion radiating through the camp. People paused in silent admiration of this moment. The grandfather, still holding Ali, turned to Angelina, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You've given us our lives back," he said, his voice trembling. "I don't know how to thank you." Angelina smiled softly. "You don't need to thank me. The real courage was yours. You never gave up. I was just a part of your story." Angelina knew this story had to be more than just a rescue. It had to be a new beginning. With the help of UNHCR, Ali and his grandfather were given a safe place to call home. Support was arranged for Ali to continue his education. Ali's story became a beacon of hope for the children in the camp, a symbol that even in the harshest conditions, life could begin anew. This story reminds us that one person's courage and determination can change a life entirely. Angelina Jolie's efforts to save Ali prove that even the smallest actions can make the biggest difference in the world. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video and share it with others. For more inspiring stories, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching.